Order the City of Natchitoches Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. I'm going to defer the comments until after the old business. Roman numeral 2, roll call. Ms. Oaks?
Anita DuBois.
Here.
Bobby Claiborne.
Here.
Charles Whitehead III.
Here.
Isaac Lewis. Michael Lewis.
Here.
Ricky McAllister.
Here.
Walter Johnson.
Here.
Sadie Sawyer.
Here.
Alexa Bernard Condi.
Here.
By my count, ladies, that is a quorum.
Yes.
All right. Roman numeral 3, approval of the minutes from our meeting on October the 1st, 2024. Commissioners have been provided those minutes. If there are any corrections or deletions, please let me know. If not, I would entertain a motion to dispense with the formal readings and accept them as presented.
I so vote.
Motion by Claiborne, second by DuBois. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. All right, Roman numeral 4, the old business, subsection A, the city council approved the application by Terry Rigon of Murphy Oil, Inc. to rezone and to request a variance of the following lot containing .3641 acres in sections 55 and 56 of Township 9 North, Range 7 West, Natchitoches Parish, Louisiana, commencing at a found 5 1/8 rebar at the northwest corner of the Walmart tract, thence along the west boundary line of said tract, south 17 degrees, 48 minutes, 31 seconds west, a distance of 101.60 feet. Thence, leaving said boundary line, proceed south 72 degrees, 11 minutes, 29 seconds east, a distance of 75.79 feet to a found PK nail, said point being the point of beginning. Thence proceed south 88 degrees, 12 minutes, 39 seconds east, 184.83 feet to a set cotton spindle. Thence proceed south 01 degrees, 47 minutes, 21 seconds west, 85.60 feet to a set PK nail. Thence proceed north 88 degrees, 12 minutes, 39 seconds west, a distance of 184.83 feet to a set PK nail. Thence proceed north 01 degrees, 47 minutes, 21 seconds east, a distance of 85.60 feet to the point of beginning, being the lot leased to Murphy Oil Incorporated from B3 commercial to B3 with a special exception for BA with a variance of 11 3/4 feet off the front yard setback. The reason to reconstruct the Murphy gas station and to allow for the sale of alcoholic beverages, bearing municipal address 925 Kaiser Avenue. Any other new, old business, Madam Director?
No, sir.
All right, so I'm going to go into my comments at this point in time. The procedure, we have two sets of things tonight. We have the first two applications are for variances or waivers. Those are subject to action by the council tonight, or by the commission tonight, and if no one takes an appeal, they're final 10 days from today. The other applications, C through J, are applications for rezoning. And what everyone needs to understand is that the zoning for the city of Natchitoches is done by master ordinance in 1974 after the adoption of our home rule charter. So every parcel of land was assigned a zoning designation. So the only thing you can do to change that zoning designation is to adopt another ordinance amending the master zoning map. So what was required in that is you have to have a hearing at this level. It gets approved or denied, and then it goes before the city council. It has to be introduced, and that will be introduced. Our next city council meeting is December the 9th. It will be introduced at that point and then held over for final voting at the next city council meeting, which is January the 13th, 2025. There is no second meeting in the month of December. That's the only way that you can amend this master zoning map. I mean, I realize it might cause people some consternation, but that's just the methodology that the city and every other city has adopted. I would suggest that anyone, whether they're aggrieved or approve of a rezoning appear at the December 9 meeting to address it if it's brought up. Inevitably, we have people sometimes that say, I can't make the second meeting and I want to talk now. And so the city council, in my 20 years of tenure, has never denied anybody the right to speak. I would say somebody that wanted to be heard should come and not say anything if it's not brought up. But if somebody brings it up, you should be there to be heard. With regard to the rezoning, I think, not the rezoning, but the variances, those appeals must be taken within 10 days of writing of tonight's decision. They will be docketed within 45 days. The ladies at the planning and zoning can direct you up to the city clerk, which will take your appeal. There's no automatic docketing of that. So, that being said, the procedure will follow for both the variances and the re-subdivisions, which appears to be what, it's not variances, but re-subdivision, which is a reapportionment of boundary lines, and the rezonings will take, as we'll hear from the director, will give a summary of the application. We'll then hear from the applicant or their designee. Then we will hear from folks in opposition to the application, and then the applicant or their designee will be entitled to rebut anything that was said in opposition. And then we will move to discussion by city council members, by commission members, and then we'll take a vote. Did I miss anything, Madam Director?
No, sir, you did not.
Roman numeral 5, new business, subsection A, the application by Mr. Tony and Miss Charlotte Swartz to subdivide the following: Lot 4 of Block A of Stewart's Riverside subdivision and Lot 7A of the re-subdivision of Lot 7 and Lot 8 of Block A of Stewart Riverside subdivision, shown on plat of survey in Conveyance Book 547, Folio 525 of the records of Natchitoches Parish, Louisiana. The reason is to reapportion the boundary lines. Bears municipal address 1705 Cane River Parkway, exhibit number 1 in commissioner's packets, and councilperson district number 1. Madam Director, if you will summarize the application if it needs to be. I would like to make a note for the record that Miss Anita DuBois is within the 300-foot notice of this. She will neither participate in discussion or voting. You have that, Miss Oakes?
Yes, sir.
All right, Madam Director. Anything you need to add?
Well, just to let you know, in order for this application to be approved, well, it's recommended that this application be approved for the subdivision based upon an ordinance for a subdivision. The minimum lot size for each lot has to be over 7,200 square feet, and it has to front on a major street. Both lots on this plat are both over more than 7,200 square feet, and it fronts on Cane River Parkway Drive. They're only moving the boundaries 13.72 feet. It's just moving the boundary lines from one property to the next.
All right, is Mr. or Ms. Swartz or the representative here to address the application herein?
I didn't hear the last part, we can't hardly hear you at all.
Well, my wife would be happy to hear that because she says I'm way too loud. So I'm happy to bring it up. Mr. or Mrs. Swartz, can you come forward or your designee to address this application?
Where we come up there?
Right here.
Right there in front of that. So did you, Ms. Swartz, did you hear the summary by the director?
I heard part of it. I did.
And so what it sounds like is y'all are gonna reallocate these lot lines by about 13 feet or so?
Yes.
And what the director has said, and you probably have no way of knowing, is that when you realign these, they both front on a public street, and they both meet the minimum square footage. I guess what we really need to know is, why are you doing this? Is there some feature there that you need to work around?
The reason why that we're doing what we're doing is because the property has got some driveway, or not really driveway, but some concrete that is over on the other side of the property, which we do own that piece of property as well. So, but we're trying to get ready to probably to sell one of the properties So that's why we're doing what we're doing.
So, Ms. Charlotte, is it fair to say that what y'all are doing is trying to realign the lot lines in the way that you're possessing the property?
Yes.
All right. That's what I thought it was. It looked pretty clear to me. Are there any questions from Ms. Swartz from commission members? Does anyone else want to speak on behalf of the application of Swartz? Hearing none, is there any opposition to the application of Swartz? Hearing none, discussion by commission members.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Lewis to approve, second by Claiborne. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. All right, that passes. Madam Director, do you have the final plat?
I do.
All right, Ms. Swartz, I'll sign this today. The director will make sure that all the appropriate city departments sign it. What is that, next Monday or Tuesday at your meeting?
Tuesday.
Next Tuesday. It'll be final by what, about Friday of next week?
It will be.
You'll need to come get the final plat. Everybody will have signed off on it. You'll need to bring it up to Mr. David Stamey up here at the clerk of court's office, record it, and bring her a copy showing the recording information.
Okay, where do I pick it up at?
You pick it up right next door
to the,
at
okay,
the old
City Hall?
Progressive or
Okay.
Translaw building,
Okay.
City Hall.
And that'll be when, do you say Tuesday?
Next Tuesday, they have a meeting of all the department heads. And so what she does is she brings that there so they can sign it in one
Okay.
place.
Okay, I
So
got
it's
you.
probably after lunch next Tuesday. Is that be fair, Madam Director?
Yes.
All right.
Okay,
And you
okay.
can call these ladies, they're happy to help you.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Appreciate your time. Roman numeral 5, new business, subsection B, the application by Mr. Ronald D. Roy to subdivide the following lots 5 and 6 of Block D of East Natchitoches, addition to the city of Natchitoches, less 10 feet of Lot 5. The reason is to reapportion of boundary lines bearing municipal address 427 Stevens Avenue, Exhibit Number 2, Councilperson District Number 1. Summary by the director.
Yeah, that's it. So this, Mr. Roy, are they here tonight?
Yes, Mr. Roy's here.
Okay, so this is actually another boundary property line move. Both lots are beyond the 7,200 square feet. They already have existing structures on both lots, and it looks as if it's a slight change of about 7.24 feet, if I'm looking at that correctly. And it's fronting on Powhatan Alley.
Which growing up, we call that Henry Alley, but you know.
Really?
Yeah, my grandparents were over there on the corner of Fourth and Henry, and that alley was behind them. But it looks to me like it's just memorializing what Mr. Roy's, I guess, brother-in-law, Johnny Elsie, had built over the years. And we'll get to Mr. Roy in just a second, but otherwise, the reapportionment appears to be conforming.
Correct.
Is that correct, Madam Director?
That's correct.
All right, Mr. Roy, you heard the summary by the.
This is on lot, it's 439 Stevens and 427 Stevens. The big house has been on the property line, over the property line ever since it was built. God knows when, because it's an old house. And so what we've done, we've taken 7 feet out of the lot next door, all the way to the back, to Powhatan Alley, and giving it to 439 Stevens.
Correct.
So what we're
We've
going
taken
to
it
end
out
up
of
with, Mr. Roy, is
427.
three lots that are all conforming, right, Madam
Correct.
Director?
Yeah.
That's correct.
And they all
three of them.
memorialize what's already there.
Right.
All right. Any questions for Mr. Roy by the commission members?
You're just moving the line away from the house, right?
You got what?
Just moving the property line away from the house,
Making it.
making it where the house is.
The house is
Right on the
over.
property line.
The house is over the property line.
Right,
Okay.
So we moved it over the property line 7 feet from the house.
okay.
All right.
So that's so it could be in that one property.
Well,
And the
it'll
other
be
two
three.
is okay.
It's gonna be 3 lots.
It's gonna be 3 lots.
Three different lots, right?
But there are 4 structures there, so, you know. But everybody will be self-contained and correct, is that right?
That's correct.
All right. Any more questions for Mr. Roy? Anyone to speak on behalf of the application of Roy? Hearing none, is there any discussion by commission members?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Lewis, second by, I'm sorry,
I second.
second. I'm sorry, I was gonna go with McAllister. I thought you had an objection there for a second.
No, sir.
So all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. All right, Mr. Roy, likewise, I'll sign it tonight. She'll bring it next Tuesday to the meeting of all the department heads. Next Friday, you can pick it up, bring it to David Stamey, record it at the clerk's office, bring her a copy showing the recording information. All right? Roman numeral 5, subsection C. Well, before we get to this, we now have a series, well, no, okay. Subsection C, the application by Mr. Mohammed Hasib to rezone the following location, lot being 150 square feet out of lot 62 of the East Broadmoor subdivision, less 2,331.7 square feet to the highway department, less 336 feet to the highway department, less 0.014 acres to the highway department, from B3 commercial to B3 with a special exception for BA, which is to reopen the gasoline station with a convenience store to sell alcoholic beverages, bearing municipal address 97 South Drive, exhibit number 3, councilperson district number 2. Summary by the director.
This is the old Texaco place on South Drive, right on the corner of South Drive and Kaiser. It's a Texaco. It was a soup store. They've been closed over a year. Therefore, in order for them to reopen to sell alcoholic beverages, they have to ask for a rezone of BA zoning.
Did you receive any comments from the 300-foot letters?
I have not.
All right. Would Mr. Hasib or his representative come forward? Please state your name, sir.
Evening, Derek Monette.
All right, you heard the summary, and you represent Mr. Mohammed Hasib tonight,
Yes, sir.
and you heard the summary by the director of Mr. Hasib's application, is that correct?
Correct.
And is there anything you need to add to that?
No, sir.
All right, any questions for this gentleman regarding this application?
No.
Is there anyone wants to speak on behalf of the application of Hasib? Hearing none, is there any opposition to the application of Hasib? Hearing none, what is the discussion by commission?
I move we approve.
Motion by DuBois, second by McAllister. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Now, so it passes, so this is a rezone, so it's gonna come up, it'll be introduced on December the 9th in front of the city council. Be voted for January the 13th, 2025, rather, in front of the city council. I suggest that someone be there on December the 9th. I wouldn't talk unless they bring it up, but it will be for full-throated discussion on January the 13th, 2025.
Okay.
All right, and that's right here at 5 o'clock,
5:30.
5:30.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, so we're fixing to move into our special exception applications pursuant to ordinance 26 of 2024. These are applications for short-term rentals. The city council passed on October the 14th, 2024, ordinance number 26, which provides that defines short-term rentals and further indicates that under subsection 3, these are special exception uses, which these uses are declared to be possess such characteristics of a unique or special form that each specific use shall be considered in an individual case and shall be subject to approval of the city commission after a public hearing and recommendation by the planning commission. So what that means is that every application stands on its own merits, and that other applications, be they next door, be they down the street, are not particularly of relevant issue on this matter. And that is, this is the first time we've had a hearing under this ordinance, so we're trying to work through it, just like the rest of you all. So we'll go into Roman numeral 5, new business, subsection D, the application of Mr. James F. McTwire to rezone the following location, a lot at the northeast corner of Williams Avenue and Scarborough Street, being part of Block J of the East Natchitoches addition to the city of Natchitoches, and described as Lot 1 of the Louise Schumann subdivision as shown on plat in Map Book 1, Folio 252 of the Records of Natchitoches, Louisiana, from R1 to R1 special exception to operate a short-term rental, 301 Williams Avenue, Exhibit Number 4, Councilperson District 1. Summary by the director.
Again, this is a rezone from R1 to R1 special exception for the operation of a short-term rental. And the application as provided, if I looked at this correctly, the square foot of this property is 1,937 square feet, with a total of 3 bedrooms, a living room, dining room, foyer, and a kitchen. And he's just requesting the R1 special exception for short-term rental operations.
And so, just because we approve it tonight, he still has to get everything else approved with regard to the short-term rental, all the inspections and the other type things, notices and that kind of stuff. Is that
Right, this is
correct?
just a rezone to allow them to
This is the
operate.
first step of a
Correct.
journey. And as I appreciate this is subject to the regulations of the landmark historic district being at 301 Williams Avenue, is that correct?
Right, but they would only apply to the outside aesthetics of the building, not the actual operation or the interior decoration of the facility.
Would Mr. McTwire or his designee come forward to address this application? Please state your name, sir.
James F. McTwire.
Mr. McTwire, you've heard the summary of your application by the director. Please let us know anything else we need to know about your application.
Sure. I actually grew up in Natchitoches. That's my family home that we grew up in. My mother had to sell it back in '86, and I purchased it again in April of this year. And when I purchased it, of course, the long-term plan would be for me to probably eventually come back. I live in Houston, Texas right now, and I had put in a lot into the property to make it look aesthetically pleasing and so forth. If you pass by, you probably see the changes of colors and different things that I've been doing to the house. Just honestly, I come back and forth quite a bit now, but I would like to be able to have an opportunity to recuperate a little bit of the funding that I put into the property when I'm not here.
And you understand the regulations and the other type things?
Yes, we've been having fun.
Have
Yeah.
to register with the tax commission and all that
Yes.
stuff. All right. Are there any questions for Mr. McTwire from members of the commission?
Yes. You live in Houston. Would you have somebody here to run the properties when you're gone?
I have several relatives here, including a brother, a sister, aunts, uncles. Yeah, all my roots are here. All my family members are pretty much here. So yeah, unfortunately, my mother was killed in a car accident in '89, and so that's one of the reasons I wanted to get the house back to kind of for her memories also.
Sorry
Well,
about that.
Mr. McTwire, I think what Mr. Lewis was alluding to is that you have to designate a
Yes.
single person.
I-
on there. It doesn't matter if you got 2 or 3 backing them up.
Right.
But you have a primary person to do that.
Yes, I do.
And what you have to remember is this is just the first step. There's all kinds of licensing and that kind of stuff you have to comply with.
I understand.
We just want to make sure you understand what you're getting into.
I definitely understand. I have a brother and a sister-in-law who are going to be the designees for the property.
All right.
Yes.
Any further questions from Mr. McTwire? Any questions, anyone to speak on behalf of the application of McTwire? Is there any opposition to the application of Matwire? Hearing none, what is the commission's pleasure, discussion?
Make a motion to approve.
I'll
Motion by
second.
Claiborne, second by DuBois. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Mr. Matwire and these other people are going to get tired of me saying this. This goes in front of the city council on December the 9th. It's going to be voted on January the 13th. Shouldn't be any comment on December the 9th, but if somebody says they've got a mother they've got to go take care of in Houston, and they can only be on December the 9th, I've never known the city council to not let them speak. So I'd have somebody here on the 9th. If no one comes up with a family emergency, I wouldn't say anything. But there'll be a full-throated discussion on January the 13th.
Okay,
Thank you, Mr. Matwire.
thank you.
Roman numeral 5, new business, subsection E, the application by Ms. Denise W. McConduit to rezone the following: lots 13 and the north half of lot 12 and the north 75 feet of lot 14 of block AA of the Roy addition of the city of Natchitoches from R2 to R2 special exception. The reason of operation of a short-term rental, the property bears municipal address of 126 North Street, exhibit number 5, councilperson district number 3 in the commissioner's packet. Summary by the director, and then I have a comment.
So this property is on the corner of North and West Street. It actually is right, well, I'm not gonna say right behind the Chick-fil-A. There's one other structure that's between the Chick-fil-A parking lot and then the Ms. Conduit's property. It's a nice-sized property. It's a two-story. I didn't realize it was two-story at the time, but it's a two-story building. I think there was 4 or 5, I can't remember how many bedrooms was in the house, but it's a decent-sized structure with a large backyard and parking.
Thank you, Madam Director. There's one thing I need to point out to everybody. I think what we need to do is amend this application today to be from R2 to R1 special exception for a short-term rental. Unfortunately, our city fathers did not make provisions for short-term rental in R2 or R3. Madam Director and I are going to try to address that before we have a next meeting, but the only way we can do this is give this person what they want as an R1 special exception for a short-term rental, even though it's a duplex. I mean, duplexes are allowed in R1, they're supposed to be few and far between. But, you know, if you're inclined to do it, I think we've got to comply with the statute or the ordinance, and we'll fix this on the back end for the ones in the future. And of course, if she quits using it as an R1 special exception or short-term rental, it'll revert back to R2. So I don't think that's a big issue. Do you concur, Madam Director?
I concur.
All right, let's hear from Ms. McConduit or her rep. Well, let's get her up here to talk about it and make sure she understands what we're talking about before we begin.
I am a little bit confused.
All right, well, Ms. McConduit, the city council sort of rushed this thing through. And so the only time short-term rentals on the current ordinance is allowed is in an R1. You're an R2.
Oh.
So what we're gonna do, what we would like to do, assuming that you agree to it, your current application is for an R2 to R2 special exception to operate a short-term rental. What we'd like to do is to amend your application, assuming you agree, from an R2 to an R1 special exception to represent a short-term rental. And so what would happen is if you quit doing that, it would revert back to R2. So it's really no harm, no foul. It's just a quirk in the law. And the city of Natchitoches, like, I don't know if you follow New Orleans, they've ended up in federal court about every 6 months over these short-term rentals. So I'm kind of happy that we've got this little quirk that we can try to work through, because they've had neighborhoods and federal lawsuits. Miss Rock and I have been following it for 3 years. And I mean, they're going fisticuffs in New Orleans. So this is just kind of a quirk. that we'll have to downzone you to R1, even though you're a duplex, assuming that the commission agrees. But it really gets you where you want to go.
Okay.
All right, well, tell us what you want to do, and then we'll take care of the procedural stuff.
Okay, the house I found the house, it was very run down. It was like a blight in the neighborhood. So because the house had good bones, I just decided to redevelop it because, you know, I love Natchitoches. I always have loved it. I come up here often. I'm a writer. And I wanted a property up here. Even though I live in New Orleans, we have terrible hurricanes. I wanted a property up here. I revitalized the property. And when I'm not up here, same thing. I want to be able to use it for economic reasons and, you know, make it kind of worthwhile. And I do have people here that I work with, Mr. Henry Rochelle. He helps me with the house. And I don't know what else, you know.
But, so, as I told Mr. McTwire, you have to physically designate somebody. If Henry is your man, then that's fine.
Yeah, Henry,
But you-
yeah.
I mean, Henry's a good guy.
Henry and
He'll
Catherine.
take care of it.
Yes.
But you just have to, you know, there's a lot of paperwork after this. And
Okay.
if you think our paperwork's bad, you ought to look at the Orleans
Oh.
paperwork. But in any event, are there any questions for Ms. McConduit before we take care of some housekeeping measures?
I just want to ask, that's a duplex, so you plan on renting each one of them out separately, or?
It's really not a duplex, though.
No, but that's how they were using it. They were using it before where.
But I'm not using
Yeah.
it as a duplex, though.
So it's just one structure then?
Yeah.
It's just, you like knocked out the walls and made one?
Yeah, no, it's just one structure. She said the previous people were using it as a duplex.
They were renting out individual rooms, but it
A
is
lot of
one
college
Oh,
structure.
it's more of a boarding house than a
It
duplex.
was.
Oh,
gotcha.
okay, yeah.
So it only has 5 bedrooms?
Four.
Four?
Three
Okay.
down and one at the top.
That's right,
Yeah.
that's
Okay.
right.
And it's gonna be for 30 days or less, right?
Well,
The
That's
short-term
the
rent,
short-term
short-term
Oh, yeah,
rental?
oh, yes,
Less
yes, yes.
than 30 days.
Okay, yeah.
All right, any more questions from Ms. McConduit? All right, let's take care of some housekeeping measures. Ms. McConduit has indicated that she is amenable to us amending this application to be R2 to R1 special exception for a short-term rental. Do I have a motion to amend the application?
I so move.
Motion
I'll
by
second.
Claiborne, second by DuBois. Now, the vote is only to amend the application. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. All right, thank you, Ms.
Thank you.
McConduit. That's it. Does anyone else want to speak on behalf of the application of McConduit? Is there any opposition to the application of McConduit? Hearing none, discussion by commission members.
I make a motion, we approve.
Motion by DuBois, second by McAllister. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. All right, that carries. Ms. McConduit, as I told Mr. McTwire, be introduced on December the 9th. It may apply to you as well as it did to him, that somebody might say they can't be here on the January meeting, so they might want to talk. So I would encourage you to have someone either be here on the 9th of December or yourself be here to address any issues. Really shouldn't be taken up then, but, you know, politics being what they are, somebody's going to visit a grandchild somewhere, they're going to listen. But the final motion to approve is on January the 13th, right here at 5:30. You are a designee, because if there's a question about it, it might be an innocuous question, but if you don't show up, it'd probably be interpreted against you if somebody showed up to oppose. All right, Roman numeral 5, new business, subsection F, the application by Ms. Lori Dearman to rezone the following. Lot on the east side of Williams Avenue, north by Hart, east by East 2nd Street, south by Schuman, from R1 to R1 special exception. The reason is the operation of a short-term rental bearing municipal address 307 Williams Avenue, exhibit number 6, councilperson district number 1. Summary by the director.
Again, this is another short-term rental. This property is zoned R1, so we wouldn't have to ask for an amendment on this property. Again, She's just asking to be able to operate a short-term rental.
And once again, this is either in the district or subject to district regulations. Is that
And it is
correct?
in the district.
All right, Ms. Dearman or designee, would you come forward, please?
This is my rendering of the floor plan, so forgive the rudimentary nature.
Ms. Dearman, you heard the summary of your application by the director. Is there anything you need to add for us or tell us what you're going to do?
I'd like, if I may, bring some photos that I made.
It might be what's in your packet already.
Thank you, ma'am.
I think she may have something different.
I grew up in Natchitoches, and specifically in this house. It's been in my family since 1929. My grandfather, William G. Stroud, was the clerk of court for Natchitoches, and it's my honor to have done the work I've done on this house for the past almost 21 months. At the time I undertook that, my vision wasn't completely clear. I live in New Orleans. I still work in New Orleans. I do want to retire to this house. My 6 nieces and nephews have lived in the house. My son lived in the house. They all went to Northwestern. After my mother and grandmother, both widows, passed, my sister officially owned the house. When her children were done with college, she didn't want the house anymore. She wanted to sell it, and I begged her to keep it. And we made a deal of sorts. And as a result of that deal, I've put a lot of money in deferred maintenance into the house, hoping to retire there. It was my son's suggestion, my young adult son lives with me in New Orleans, and he's a short-term renter in my house in New Orleans, that I do this because he thought I would really enjoy being a host. I love the neighborhood. I want to retire here. I wish I could do that right now. In the meantime, I would like to defray some of the costs by being an ambassador to the city, by hosting guests in the historic district. In harmony with the neighborhood, I have maintained the original facade of the house. It had gone into quite an amount of disrepair over the years. Also, I live next to James, and similar to Ms. McConduit, I live in New Orleans. But I visit at least once a month. I have family and friends here, and I do have someone who will look after the house. In fact, this week I had someone go and turn on the faucets because of the freeze that was coming. I think I addressed everything. The house is 2-story. It's 4-bedroom, 2.5 baths. I do not plan to have it rented out all the time because I would like to come enjoy the house, which I do. But I would like to share it.
And so, Ms. Dearman, you understand that there's a permitting process where you have to formally designate
Absolutely.
someone to do that. And so,
Absolutely.
as long as this is the first step in a multi-step journey. Not terribly bad, but still.
I've been part of this journey since Chantrell has been working very hard on having the ordinance passed. I've been here for every meeting regarding ordinance number 26. I've given input, and I think that it's a very important thing to do because as someone who lives in New Orleans, I've seen how short-term rentals can be a problem for a community. So thank you. It would be an honor to do it, and I know that this is just one step of the process.
Thank you, Ms. Dearman. Are there any questions for Lori from commission members?
I want to ask, is it 301 or 307?
It's 307, 307.
Okay.
I'd like to commend you on the improvements you've done to it.
Yes.
Thank you very
Do you-
much.
Do you have the requisite parking?
Yes, and that's a good point. The entrance to the parking is from back, from East Second Street. So the front of the house, it has a small footprint. The back is the deep, and that's why I wish that was reflected on this, but it's not. Chantrell does have that overview showing that it is a very deep lot in the back.
My neighbors in the back, the Carpenters, we've known them for many years, and my own communications with my neighbors suggest that there is no opposition. If someone is here who opposes it, I would be happy to address those concerns.
And with that note, Madam Director, did you receive any response to the Dearman 300-foot affidavit?
I would say this, out of all of the applications, out of all of them total, we've had several, maybe 4 or 5 calls, but the calls that we've received have all been just out of curiosity. We have not received any calls with a negative connotation of any in reference to any of our applications.
Thank you, ma'am. Any more questions for Ms. Dearman from the commission members? Anyone will speak in support of the Dearman application? Any opposition to the Dearman application? What is the commission's discussion or pleasure?
I move we approve the application.
Motion by Du Bois, second by Lewis. Well, you just coming in and.
He said second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Ms. Dearman, as I told the previous applicants, be introduced on December the 9th. I'd suggest you have somebody here just in case it comes up. Full-throated discussion and voting on January 13th.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Roman numeral 5, new business, subsection G, the application of D&KP Investments to rezone the following location: lot on the west side of 2nd Street, 87 feet fronting there, north by Dietrich, south by Himes, west by Michael and Himes, from R1 to R1 special exception. Reason is to operate a short-term rental, 930 2nd Street, exhibit number 7 in Commissioner's packet, councilperson district number 4. It's my understanding that we either got a typo in the agenda, or the application is correct. It says R2 to R.
The application is correct,
So
so
that's-
was the notifications.
So the notifications went out from R2 to R2 special exception. So the agenda is incorrect. The applications have been filed appropriately. Just as we did for Ms. McConduit, I'm afraid we're going to have to request a modification to this application to downzone to R1 special exception, because that's the only place the short-term rental is allowed at this point. Hopefully, we'll get that squared away. That's exhibit number 7 in Commissioner's packet. Councilperson District number 4, comments by the director.
Again, this is another short-term rental that's on 2nd Street, that's owned by Mr. Petty or D&KP Investments LLC, wanting to do short-term rental.
All right. Any responses other than inquisitive responses?
Not on
Nobody
this
taking a stand?
application. I didn't have any questions or anything for this application.
All right. Would the applicant or his designee come forward? Please state your name, sir, for the record.
I'm David Petty.
Mr. Petty, you've heard the summary of your application by the director. Is there anything you need to add or correct that she's done?
No, sir, except for just the zoning that we talked about. But
You would accept?
yes,
You
sir,
would
that's
accept
fine.
the modification to make it work, and I
don't
shouldn't
care, that's fine.
apologize because I didn't have any hand in drafting it, but unfortunately, that's what we're stuck with. If you quit using it as a short-term rental, it's gonna go back to R2, so it's
Yes,
not really that big of a deal.
Okay, that's no problem.
All right, all right, Mr. Petty. Are there questions for Mr. Petty from the commission members? Is there anyone in opposition to the application of Petty? I guess I technically should have asked, was there anybody in support of the application of Petty, other than a little bit here?
A little bit.
All right, any opposition to the application of Petty? Hearing none, does the commission have a pleasure or questions?
I move we amend the application.
A motion to amend by Du Bois.
Second.
Second by Claiborne. This vote is solely to amend the application. We'll go on to approve the application as amended if that's what the commission pleasure is. Motion to amend, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. So now that the motion, the application's been amended, any discussion on the amended motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion
Second.
by Mr. Lewis, second by Mr. Claiborne. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. That is approved. Dave, you heard what I told all the other people.
Yes, sir. I got the dates
All
wrote
right.
down.
Thank you. Thank
Okay,
you so
thank you.
much. All right, Roman numeral 5, new business, subsection H, the application by Ms. Sonia Ross to rezone the following. Lot 6 of Block H, the Parkway Estates, Unit Number 2, lets a small triangular tract taken off the eastern side and a small lot out of the northeast corner of Lot 5 from R1 special exception. The reason is to operate a short-term rental at 400 Parkway Drive. Exhibit number 8, councilperson district number 2. Summary by the director.
Again, this is another short-term rental Airbnb application for 400 Parkway Drive.
All right, any comments, inquiries, any of that kind of stuff?
No, none whatsoever.
All right. Ms. Ross, would Ms. Ross or a designee come forward? Ms.
Well,
Ross?
I look over here and I see Charlotte and Tony. And I said, most of the people in this room won't know me as Sonia Ross. They'll know me as Sissy. But yes, I did do an application for a short-term rental, but I want to operate an Airbnb. I actually transported myself here from Georgia. I came to Louisiana in 1987. And been very active in the communities. I spent a lot of time in Sabine Parish. And then I moved to Natchitoches in 2017 and purchased my house in 2018. So I've had a little life change, and now I can do some things I want to do. My degree was in home ec education, so I love design, I love hospitality, I love all those things. So at this point, I said, how awesome would it be that I could do an Airbnb with my home, and it not only give back to the community, I mean, we're going to make sales tax off of that, but also we know that our hotels book up. I can offer my house on weekend rental. I do still live in the house. I will occupy the house, but looking to do just, weekend rentals. And of course, this is going to be a busy time of the year, rolling into January, February with Mardi Gras. So that is my hopes, that it would be approved. I'm super excited to kind of go in this endeavor. And the reason I chose Airbnb was because it's a very safe site. That site, I don't know if any of you have ever rented from Airbnb. I've traveled a lot and always chose to stay at an Airbnb. But you have to put your driver's license in. It verifies you, it identifies you. Like my house would only sleep 6 people, so I'm not going to have 20 people over there. It would be for 6. It's just a very secure site. It's something that I've done in the past, and I love it. I've always felt very safe and secure. So that's why I am choosing to do Airbnb rental.
All right. Any questions by commission members for Ms. Ross?
You will be on the property?
Yes, sir. So now, when the people are staying in the house, I would not be there. But I will be at the house. So I'm the corporate sales trainer for Walker Automotive in Alexandria. I have 4 boys, and all 4 of my boys live in Alex, so I would stay with them on the weekends that it's rented. But I would manage it. That's how some of Airbnbs do have them stay on the property, but no, I wouldn't stay on the property while the people are there. Yeah.
But you have someone that can be there in 30 minutes if something happens.
Correct. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Norman Kuhlman and Janet Kuhlman, they actually live here, and you might know Norman, might have done some work for y'all. He is air conditioning and heating. They are some of my best friends, and so she will actually be, if I'm an hour away, they will actually be helping me maintain that.
Okay.
All right. Any further questions for Ms. Ross from the commission members? All right. Ms. Ross, is there anyone else here to speak on behalf of your application?
Yes. I think, do y'all have anything you would like to ask, Greg?
Well, I think we're going to speak.
Now, what we're going to do is people in support of the application, if we have people that have questions or oppose it, we'll move on to that part.
Okay.
But in any event, and so, Ms. Ross, I would tell you this, is that we'll come back to you and let you have last word, but you need to address whatever comments are made.
Absolutely.
And not go far afield from that.
Okay.
All right, thank you, ma'am. So let's hear from anybody that wants to ask about questions about the Ross application or oppose it. Please come forward to the AMBO and identify yourself, tell us where you live, and tell us what your concerns are. Ms. Ross, if you wouldn't mind just having a seat.
Okay.
Good evening. I am Greg Burke. I live at 512 Parkway Drive, which is a little bit down the street. And I'm the appointed spokesperson for some folks. You can congratulate me later. But I will start by saying that, this Natchitoches is a community where everybody knows everybody and everybody's friends. And so when you maybe express an opinion that may not be just aligning with people, it's not easy. But I think this is what this commission is all about, and this is what the process is all about. Mr. Whitehead, you referenced come up and speak in terms of opposition, and I would probably prefer to use the words concern and apprehension. Opposition to me is just, my dad was an English teacher, and words are a big deal, so I think it's concern and apprehension. Look, Airbnbs, they're nothing new. I mean, you guys deal with this all the time. So it's not a new concept, but it's new to what is one of the oldest and most established neighborhoods in Natchitoches, which is the Parkway Estates. I've got some folks here, two people that live within 300 feet, which is a football field. It's coming from an athletic guy, so whenever you say 300 feet, I think of a football field, 100 yards. But there are two individuals here, Dr. Weed and Miss Bacon, who between them have lived in their homes within 300 feet of this residence for close to 100 years combined. Another one on the corner is a newer, Miss Rhonda and her husband, who's a minister. They're newer to the neighborhood, and then he can't be here, but Joseph Stamey lives catty corner as well, and I think he might have submitted a letter to you guys. I'm about 500 feet, to be honest. I'm about a football field and a half away, but the thoughts from our perspective have to do with a couple things. Resale value is one of them, and then I've done a little bit of research, and it's like anything else. My 30-year-old daughter calls me Dr. Google, but I go read a lot on the internet, and people, and I would like to think when people go to buy a home, they want to know, who am I going to live next to and who's going to live next to me, either way you want to say it. And that we think that some people are going to say, I want to know my neighbor, not just for a weekend. And this is a conversation within the Airbnb community. I want to know who my neighbor is going to be every day for 52 weeks. And so, that question is going to get asked. And you talk about an old established neighborhood where you've worked, and this is a nice home. I mean, I drive by it every day, and all of us have worked to keep our homes nice, keep our yards nice, and part of it is because that's what you're supposed to do. But secondly, at some point, you're thinking about maybe you're going to resell it, and you want everything to be aligned to get the best value out of what you've put into the home. And then the concern part as well, and it's funny that Miss Sissy mentioned six people, and so I'm sitting here thinking, I don't know, if it's rented 2 weekends a month, maybe that's 12 people, give or take, and over the course of a year, for the people that are living within proximity of that residence, that's close to 100 people that are, even if it's for a weekend, are living next to your home. And in the case of these two ladies, one has lived in her home 43 years and another 55 years, and they're going to have basically as many as 90 to 100 to more people throughout the course of the year who are living next door to them. And so I think that's where the word apprehension comes from. Not to say that you're going to, go to the nearest penitentiary and see if they want to come and, and live there, but I think you don't know. And even if you do your due diligence, you really don't know. And if you go Google and you start reading stories about Airbnbs and issues and things like that, I think there's a concern and an apprehension on the part of the neighborhood. And I think, to my knowledge, this would be the first Airbnb in the Parkway Estates. I may be wrong, and someone could correct me if I am. I'd be happy to have that happen. So, to Mr. Whitehead, Commission, we appreciate you listening to my comments on behalf of some of the neighbors in that area.
Thank you, Greg. Is there anyone that have any questions for Mr. Burke? All right. Anyone else want to speak either in opposition to or an informative position? If that helps you, Greg, as a lawyer, there's us versus them. There's no middle ground. So please come forward, Ms. Rhonda. Please state your name for the record.
Hi. Hi, I'm Rhonda Leach, and I live at 414 Parkway Drive. And I think through the years I've known Sissy, over 30 years, I have so much respect for her. And the last thing I want to do is upset you or hurt you. But my loyalty has to be to my neighbor, Miss Bacon. She's lived in that home 55 years, and she would be directly affected by this. And she has a fear of safety, and I think that even though you're going to do everything possible, you can't guarantee it. And my loyalty is going to have to be to my neighborhood for those that are not for it. And so it's not that I don't love you and care about you. I just can't go with this. Okay.
Any questions for Ms. Leach from commission members? All right. Thank you, Ms. Leach. Is anyone else wants to speak against or in an informative position about this application? All right, before we move on, I did want to get a clarification because we didn't put it on with the DKP investments. That 932nd Street is also in the historic district, is that correct?
That's correct.
And so by my calculation, every application for a short-term rental is either in the historic district, subject to the historic district, with the exception of 126 North and 400 Parkway.
Correct.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. Is there anyone else to speak in opposition to the application of Ross? Hearing none, Ms. Ross, would you please give us a short rebuttal by the points that were brought up by Mr. Burke and Ms. Leach?
Yes, sir. So the people that didn't show up that are for my Airbnb would be my next door neighbor who lives directly next to me, and that is Janet Flynn. My neighbor that lives across the street from me is AJ and Lisa Johnson. I had talked to them, and they definitely have no issue with it. Again, I understand safety as well. The property line with me and Miss Bacon, like we do have a 9-foot fence up, wood fence. It's a privacy fence, so you can't see. So whoever would be renting my house on the weekend would not be able to see into her yard. She wouldn't be able to see into ours either. Again, I do understand just the longevity of the neighborhood. I do understand that. I have spent a lot of money on my house. I've done lots of upgrades. I've done lots of refurbishing. It is a beautiful home, and I do understand concerns, but I just don't foresee there being any of those issues. I know we don't have a crystal ball, we can't look into it. I just know that I've stayed at a lot of Airbnbs and I have never had any issues with it, and I have a very good friend, Paige Powell, who lives here in Natchitoches that has ran several Airbnbs and has never had any issues with it. Another thing I look at is like when you're charging $250 and $300 a night to stay in a place, you're not going to get you're going to get people that are normally attorneys, lawyers, teachers, their families. It's not going to be a party central by any means. It will be something that a family could come in. It's for 6 people. So it would definitely be something that would be very safe and secure. And then, of course, we're in town, we have the police force right there, just in case something happened. But I wouldn't foresee there being any risk factor in that, and I do hope that you approve my application.
Ms. Ross, let me ask you a question. You said you've done a bunch of upgrades to this. Did you do these upgrades for your own benefit or in anticipation of getting this approved?
I'm sorry.
My question was, you said you've done a fair amount of upgrades to this property.
Yes, sir.
Did you do this for yourself, or did you do this in anticipation of converting this to?
No, sir, I did that for myself. Yes, absolutely.
All right, and can you tell me what unique characteristic this property possesses that would make it appropriate for an Airbnb?
Yes, sir. I redid the house as a farmhouse. We actually built 1,000 square foot deck on the very back of it, put privacy fencing all the way around it. I redid, of course, all the floors, all the bedrooms, all the ceilings, gutted the kitchen, redid the kitchen. I've probably got about $70,000 into the property right now in refurbishing.
Let me ask you this. You said you had a 9-foot privacy
Yes,
fence
sir.
around it? Did you get that permitted? Because I think the regulation is 8 feet is the maximum height.
We have the buses right behind us. If you look, the bus, so I just didn't want to be able to see the bus, the top of the buses. Yeah.
But that's their responsibility, not yours.
Who's that?
The school board.
Right.
All right. All right, any questions for Ms. Ross?
Well, maybe it's because my wife don't want to be with kids. We always do Airbnb. We do Airbnb.
Right.
We're on one of the streets, but it only allows 2 people, no kids. I mean, so we're looking at 6 people.
6 people.
You're talking about a family.
Correct.
Can you do like 6? Is there a limit on our we have nothing, no limits on our regulations on that, or?
There is a limit.
The bigger the place, the more they can get. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, so the way I have my house set up, it's, I have the master bedroom's a king-size room, king-size bed, and the middle room, the guest room is a queen, and then I have 2 twin beds in the 3rd bedroom. So it sleeps 6, so that's all that it can handle.
All right. Any more questions?
Just because it sleeps 6, are you gonna rent to people under 6? How do you know they're gonna bring, whether they're gonna bring
So
someone?
on Airbnb, you have to list everybody that will be in the house. So whoever's renting it has to be verified. They put in their driver's license number. Airbnb verifies that. And then you have to list who will be in the house with you. And then if there's a child under 1 or if there's a child, 6, so that's the people, so it can't be more than 6. It can definitely be less. It could be just a couple. It could be just a single person that rent it, but it just couldn't be more than 6 people.
And you're gonna hold them to the
Oh,
6 people?
absolutely. Yeah, that's my house. Like, I still live there, and that was, I do understand the concern, but, it's my home. So I live there, so I'm definitely not going to rent to someone who's gonna tear my place up, And the awesome thing about Airbnb is, so whoever's renting your house, so they've stayed at other Airbnbs and they have people who have written reviews on them. So you go in and read the reviews that were written on the renter and you say, I might not want to rent to you, or yes, because they'll say they left the house immaculate, they took the trash out, they were great tenants, we would love to, host them again. So you have that as well.
Well, how close are you gonna monitor that?
Very
Because,
close.
I'm looking at people been living there 55 years, that's.
Right.
That's the well-established neighborhood.
Absolutely it is.
So I just want to make sure that you're gonna hold them. To
Absolutely.
what you say you're gonna do.
Absolutely. And I'm sure they will hold me accountable. But no, absolutely I will.
Can I read something right quick that might help the neighbors understand? The requirements, like quiet hours, shall be maintained from 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. No noise within or outside the short-term rental dwelling should not disturb anyone on a neighboring property. There should be no parking on the street overnight. Parties or group gatherings which exceed the maximum number of guests and/or which have the potential to cause traffic, parking, noise, or other problems in the neighborhood are prohibited. So there are strict regulations on these Airbnbs or short-term rental properties. And you have recourse to call in if anything exceeds these. And so they have to keep everything straight on their property. If they want to stay in business, they do.
Because I think it's what, one-time offense?
Mm-hmm.
If you report it one time violating any of the ordinances, or any part of the ordinance, you lose your short-term rental
Yeah.
designation.
Each day is a new
Occurrence.
And just to address the parking, I do have a lot of parking at the house. I had put in a circle driveway, and then also I have a lot of parking in the back. You could put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cars in the back of the property. So there should never be an issue with parking.
Okay.
Any further questions for Ms. Ross? Discussion by commission members.
I make a motion, we approve.
I'd like to have a little discussion before we go forward, just to have put my 2 cents in with the chairman's privilege. I spent 11 years at 414 Parkway Drive. My parents were there almost 50 years. This application is different than every other application we've seen tonight. Every other application has been in the historic district where there's been no expectation of behaving as an R1. The historic district has always been a melange of R1, R2, R3, B1, B2. The one other property is 126 North Street, which is 85 feet from the parking lot of the college Chick-fil-A. This has been a subdivision that Mr. Arthur C. Watson Jr. established in the mid-60s. He bought this property from the Rhodes Estate, and the property has been exclusively R1. To me, it stands out from every other application we see as not something that needs to be deviated from, because every application is unique. And I don't see this as being the rest of it. That being said, I only vote in the nature of a tie, and I just feel like for my deceased parents and the neighborhood I grew up in, I just need to put that out on the record. With that being said, if there's no further discussion, what's the commission's pleasure?
I move we approve.
Motion by DuBois to approve.
Second.
Second by Lewis. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign.
No. Aye.
All right, so we've got McAllister, and Ms. Johnson as opposed. So that is 2, 4, 3, 3 to 2, 4 to 2. 1, 2, 3. No, 5 to 2. 5 to 2. Is that correct? Does everybody concur that that's a vote?
Yes.
Or we can do a roll call. Roman numeral 5, subsection I, the application by Carrie and Maria Durr to rezone the following location. Lot on the east side of Jefferson Street.
Charlie.
I'm sorry.
She's still.
So it's approved?
Yes.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Once again, that's a rezone, so you need to come back on the 9th. In case it's brought up, it'll be voted on for final passage January the 13th. Roman numeral 5, subsection, new business, subsection I, the application by Carrie and Maria Durr to rezone the following location. Lot on the east side of Jefferson Street, north by City of Natchitoches, east by City of Natchitoches, south by Sutton, from R1 to R1 special exception. The reason to operate a short-term rental bearing municipal address 401 Jefferson Street, exhibit number 9, councilperson number 1, district. summary by the director.
Again, this is another short-term rental that is in the historic district.
Any comments or inquiries?
I did not have any comments or any inquiries.
Would Mr. or Ms. Durr or their designee come forward to address this application?
Hi, good evening. I'm Kerry Durr. My wife couldn't be with us today, but call me Lynn, please, because if you call me Kerry, I'm going to turn around and look for my dad. I spent a lot of time growing up in Natchitoches over on 202 Poet Street with Michael and Mildred Durr, my grandparents. We have a lot of history here. I went to Northwestern, as did my mom and my dad. When I was approached by a good friend of mine here about purchasing this house, my wife and I were looking more for a long-term investment for our retirement and to be able to enjoy the time here. We've got 2 boys here, one of them a sophomore at Northwestern. So we put a lot of time and energy into the house. I believe I sent Miss Nicole some updated pictures of the exterior. I don't know if we have those to be able to show, but taking it back to its original form of the house when it was built, somewhere between 1923 and 1930. Our goal is to spend as much time here as we can with the boys, but to offset some of the expenses with short-term rentals, and as Ms. Dearman said, kind of being an ambassador to Natchitoches and enjoying the things that I grew up with right around the corner. So that's pretty much what we are looking for, and it will be a permanent fixture for us from a retirement perspective, not as a business just for a short-term rental for running a business.
And Lynn, you understand that you've got other hoops you have to drop?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Absolutely.
All right, any questions for Mr. Durr from commission members? Anyone in opposition to the application of the Durrs? Hearing none, what does commission have discussion or pleasure?
I make a motion, we approve.
Motion by Dubois to approve, second by McAllister. All in favor, like sign.
Aye.
All opposed? All right. You heard the spiel about December 9.
Yes, sir.
You've been here long enough to hear it all.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you, sir.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Roman numeral 5, subsection J, the application, and I hope this is right, Ms. Sarah Roush, to rezone the following lot on the southeast corner of Duplex and Primrose Street, sometimes known as Demosier, and from which point to run south 78 degrees along the south side of Primrose Street, 49 feet, run thence south 24 degrees west, 67 and a half feet, to the north line of the property owned by the Dismukes, formerly now owned by G.R. Sutton, runs thence north 78 degrees, 49 feet, to the east side of Duplex Street, run thence north 24 degrees east along the east side of Duplex Street, 67 and a half feet to the point of beginning from R2 to R2 special exception. The reason to operate a short-term rental, 425 Demosier Street, exhibit number 10 in the Commissioner's packets, councilperson District Number 1. I have to comment that I have not seen Primrose Street had to be in the 20s, because it's been a long time since I've seen Demosier referred to as that. This will likewise need a modification to the application to go from R2 to R1 special exception. But in the meantime, let's hear from the director. Do we have any comments or summary?
No, again, this is another short-term rental application. I don't think that this one is in the historic district. I don't.
Yeah. No,
Maybe, okay, maybe about,
is,
okay.
Sure. Yeah, I owned a piece of property right down from it.
Okay.
Any comments from the public as a function of the 300-foot letters?
No, I didn't receive
All right.
anything.
If Ms. Roush, if that's correct, or a designee would come forward. Ma'am, did I say that correctly?
I don't know, Roish, I guess. It's the
close enough.
American version.
Ms. Roche, you heard the summary of your application by the director. Is there anything you need to add? Or tell us what you're gonna do more so than what's in this.
No, nothing to add. That's about right. Purchased this home in May with the idea to do, live there a couple weeks, also do the short-term rental. I have family in Melrose, and they won't let me do it on the family home, so I got my own house to try to do this on as well. The house itself, before I purchased it, was mainly a college rental. And to be honest with you, the layout itself isn't really great for long-term and for living there full-time, so I don't really think someone would want to, it's funky layout. So the living space is small, it really is conducive to either students or short-term rentals, so I think it's a good candidate for it.
All right, questions for Sarah?
Is it located in the curve?
It's
back.
before the curve.
Dual properties or builder's jewel or?
It's coming further up towards Second Street.
I'll go back this way.
It's kind of on a corner lot, right?
Yeah, it's a corner.
Between Demosier and
Duplex.
Street.
Duplex?
So, Ms. Sarah, you've heard this quirk we've discovered in this brand-new law, that what we really need to do is modify your application from an R2 to an R1 special exception to allow you to do the short-term rentals. I assume you have no objection to us
Right,
amending your
no,
application.
no objection to that, no.
Let me have a motion to amend Sarah's application to go from R2 to R2 special exception to R2 to R1 special exception. Motion by
I'll
Lewis,
second.
second by DuBois. All in favor of amending the application, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. All right. Is there anyone who wants to speak on on behalf of Ms. Sarah's amended application? Hearing none, is there any opposition to Ms. Sarah's application? Does the commission have a pleasure?
I make a motion we approve.
About the parking.
I'm sorry.
So I just want to ask about
Sure,
the
well,
parking.
of course, that's part of the
Ask about
vetting
that.
process, but yes.
Go back.
Parking, do you have at least 2 parking
Yes, I do.
spots?
Yeah, 3.
And that's the required minimum, is that right,
Right.
Madam Director?
Yes, 2.
1 per bedroom.
And you will verify that as part of our licensing, is that correct?
That's correct.
Does that take care of your questions? All right,
Yeah, parking is tough, so you're right, but I do have 3 spaces now.
all right. So all in favor, did we do that already? All in favor of the application, say aye.
We have a second.
Oh, we didn't have a second.
One second.
Second by McAllister, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. All right, so you heard the spiel about December the 9th and January the 13th, and
Yep.
just do that, come here.
So
take
in
that.
person on December 9th?
December the 9th, it's one of those deals that you really shouldn't speak, but if somebody shows up, says they can't be here for January the 13th, they're gonna let them talk, so you ought to be there to put your 2 cents in. But if nobody wants to talk out of turn, don't say anything on the 9th, come back on the 13th of
Got it.
January.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
That concludes old business, is that correct, Madam Director?
That's correct.
Do we have, Roman numeral 6, do we have report of office activities?
Not at this time.
All right, Roman numeral 7, Mr. Claiborne.
Make a motion to adjourn.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. There we go. Thank you all. I appreciate